Okay guys, I got my hands on some Sonic Lost media. Look at this! I even got a note with it, it says not to play it, but you know me, I'm gonna play it, so let me turn this game on. Sonic the Hedgehog is no stranger to the world of lost media. There's a ton of lost media related to Sonic the Hedgehog, from video games to shows to comics and even movies. There's so much stuff that, I'll admit we're not going to get through all of it in just one video. But I find lost media stuff to be interesting. Who doesn't love watching a good lost media video? You know the ones. Stuff about a day with SpongeBob or the Billy and Mandy pilot. So, I've decided to make this video and talk about 6 of the most interesting cases of Sonic the Hedgehog lost media, giving you guys the details explaining what happened to each media, why it was lost, was it ever found, or if it'll ever be found. And listen, I really wanted to make sure that these 6 are some of the most interesting cases. So not stuff like the Sonic 1 Tokyo build or Sonic Extreme, because let's be for real, if you're a Sonic fan, you definitely know about stuff like that. I wanted to dig deeper into this rabbit hole and find a bit more obscure stuff. If this video does well, I might consider making this a mini-series of sorts for the channel, making other videos to discuss more lost media stuff about Sonic the Hedgehog, since like I said, there's a ton of them. I mean, look at this iceberg someone made on Reddit. With that, I think it's time we discuss 6 of the most interesting pieces of lost media regarding Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's begin. The first Sonic movie was pretty good. I think most of us would agree on that. How else would we get these 2 other peak films and the Wade Whipple show? We all know of its troubled first trailer though, the one that was released in 2019, specifically the first movie design. I still gotta wonder what they were thinking when making that design. But that's not the point. Ugly Sonic aside, the reason why I'm even speaking of the first movie in the first place is due to the fact that this movie has a lost teaser. You see, back in December of 2018 at the CinemaCon experience in Brazil, a teaser was shown to the audience watching the Paramount related materials. And one of the trailers that Paramount showed to everyone was a teaser for the first Sonic movie. Now you're probably thinking that this teaser that Paramount showed was probably the first trailer that we all saw, with the ugly Sonic, right? But it's not. Paramount showed an even earlier design for Sonic, and we know about this early design thanks to leaks. This supposed image comes from a Nick advertisement. The surrounding characters around the Sonic image are Nick Jr. characters, and that was it. We don't know much else other than that in terms of this specific teaser. But we also have these images here. Now, these images seen here are supposedly from the Russian dub testing of the movie. You can see Russian in the image. The images here are from the 2017 test pilot for the movie. So this was something made even before the trailer shown in CinemaCon. What's interesting to point out is that this Sonic is clearly the same Sonic from the CinemaCon trailer. He has the bigger eyes, blue hands. It's not the same as Ugly Sonic, who has smaller eyes and white hands. This Sonic in the 2017 test footage also has the exact same shoes as the Sonic seen in this leaked Chris Pratt poster. This poster definitely implies that Chris Pratt was in mind when deciding on who to cast for Tom the Cop. Clearly, this didn't happen, but the point is, this Sonic shares the same design as the 2017 test footage Sonic, which also shares design aspects from the supposed CinemaCon Sonic, meaning what was shown off in CinemaCon Brazil could have been the footage from the test pilot, just more edited and more completed. The test footage is so clearly just Sonic running down the road. Think about it. Remember in the first trailer we had Sonic stretching, like he does in this image. We have him facing the camera as he's ready to run, like in this image. Then boom, he runs down the road, like in this image. What I'm trying to imply here is this test footage was seen to have been remade for the first movie's trailer. There's no scene like this in the movie though. Well, the closest being when Sonic runs down the road with the turtle. It kinda looks like this image in a way. Both have the camera facing Sonic as he's running towards the camera running down the road. Just one has Sonic with the turtle, the other one, he's just kinda running by himself. Man, look at Sonic's quills from the original test footage to the first trailer. You can definitely tell they are different designs. Aside from these couple of images, we're probably not going to ever see the full thing, for a couple different reasons. Let me explain. The first reason is that those who were at CinemaCon were not allowed to record, meaning those who saw the teasers were not allowed to just record what they saw and post it online. You'd get in legal trouble for that. Along with that, Patrick Casey has said publicly that the teaser could never be released, Not only does it feature music that they didn't have the rights to, but actors involved in the project didn't get paid for their work. Meaning, if they released this on a DVD, they could get in legal trouble. Obviously, why would Paramount go through all that just to get in trouble? Also, for those who don't know, Patrick Casey does work on the movies. So, yes, his word is solid. So, is this teaser lost media? To us, it is. To Paramount, they might have the footage but locked up somewhere that we will never be able to see. And who knows, maybe by Sonic Movie 10 when it comes out on Blu-ray, the extras will have this test footage. It'll be so cool to see one day. But if it means legal issues would arise in order for the footage to come out, I don't see why Paramount would ever want to release it. Okay, let's move away from Sonic movies and talk about a Sonic TV show. More specifically, Sonic SATAM. Sonic SATAM has some interesting lost media. For example, we know of a lot of lost designs and lost characters in the show. Look at this! This was Sally Acorn before we got the design we all know today. We see all these other characters here who would never make it to the show itself, meaning that this was the original Freedom Fighters, before we even got characters like Rotor or Bunny or Antoine. Man, even Eggman looked different too. Look at this. But okay, I guess this isn't technically lost media, now is it? Sonic the comic is why we're allowed to see these designs, you know? We know that they exist, we can see them anytime we want. This was always just concept art at the end of the day, meaning these were just concepts that never even got fully animated. This is all we have, this is all we need to see. You know what is lost though? The original Sonic SATAM intro. You see, before Sonic SATAM got its iconic intro that we all know of, there was one that existed before this. It was fully animated too. The thing is, we don't have the full footage of the fully animated intro. We do have the storyboard of the original intro that is pretty different from the actual show's intro. It even features some early designs of characters like Sally and Tails. The intro even shows how Bunny got partially roboticized. This storyboard is all we have of the full thing, but we do know the intro was fully animated. Let me explain why. A lot of cells exist from the original intro. I'll show them on screen. These cells were made for this intro. They aren't used anywhere else in the show. Along with that, we do have access to a couple seconds of the fully animated intro due to the Consumer Electronics Show in 1993. A VHS exists of someone who recorded this event, and during this event, the intro was played for everyone to see. This person managed to record a couple seconds of the end of the intro, meaning we have this footage here. It's not the best quality, but it's something. Along with that, in 2020, strangely 1 second of the intro was uploaded as well. All we see is Sonic giving a thumbs up. But that's all we got. That's it. We don't have the full footage, and it might be hard to say if we ever will get it. The show's so old at this point, and it doesn't seem like Sega cares that much for Sonic SATAM these days to even care about releasing this original intro. But it definitely would be a nice piece of lost media to find if we ever get our hands on the full intro. Because it could exist somewhere out there. I don't know, maybe in Deke's vault somewhere, who knows. Okay, before I move on to the next topic, I want to remind everyone to please hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Where else are you going to get cool Sonic facts? A wink. Let's hit 3,000 subscribers with your help. Okay, let's continue. You know what? I want to talk about a more silly one in this case. The Sonic Bikini image. Where does it come from? Is it from a game that even exists? Let me explain. During the days of Sonic Adventure, a VHS tape was made to detail a bit of insight as to what Sonic Team was up to when making Sonic Adventure. Now the thing is, this documentary, it's a very silly one. It's not a real documentary about how Sonic Adventure was made, and more like Sonic Team just messing around doing silly things like making a realistic hedgehog. Then we got this, Sonic Love Story, as we get Takashi Iizuka moving out of the way showing the image of Bikini Sonic. So, is this real? Is there some lost Sonic Love Story video game out there? No, there's not. This is the only image we have of it because it's the only thing that exists for it. It was made to be a silly joke and nothing more. Is it considered lost media if we don't have the full quality image of the thing? Maybe, but also maybe this isn't something that we need a high quality image of, let's be so for real. Wait till Iizuka includes this as an alt costume in Crossworlds, trust. Alright, this next one is very much unlike all the other ones I've talked about so far. Let me explain. Sega World Sydney was an amusement park in, you guessed it, Sydney. It opened its doors in 1997 and was in operation for almost 4 years. Sadly, it had to close its doors and get demolished. But okay, what's lost about this? Some old Sonic statue? Well, okay, yes, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Sonic Live in Sydney. Sonic Live in Sydney was an hour-and-a-half show featuring Sonic, Tails, Eggman, and Sally. There are 2 different versions of the show. The first one was the costume version. The supposed story of the costume show was that Eggman crashes into Sydney and attempts to take over. Of course, Sonic and his friends would work together and put a stop to Eggman's plans. Think of Sonic 3, Eggman crashing into Angel Island, but instead of Angel Island, it's Australia. The reason I call this show the costume version is it features performers dressed up as all the characters while doing their performances, and we have a couple images of this, albeit not in the best quality. After a while, Sega thought the costumes were a little stale and not dynamic, so Sonic Live in Sydney became a puppet and animatronic show. The plot would change up as well, becoming a story about Sonic and friends having to defeat Grounder, the robot Eggman made to put a stop to Sonic. What's interesting is that for this version of Sonic in Sydney, we have a lot more images of how things look like, including the set too. Here we have images of Sonic, Tails, Sally, Eggman, Grounder, a bird, the stage, and an announcer for Sonic and Tails. Honestly, the puppets look really good. They translated the designs pretty well. Sally looks a little off though, I'm gonna be honest. Now with the puppet show, this is all we got. We don't have footage of it, there's no more images, and there's no CD release for it. I forgot to mention, but both shows were also musicals. What makes this an interesting case is that the first costume show did at least have an official release with its music, and it's very easy to find on YouTube. So while there's no footage or many pictures of the first show, at least we have the songs and audio for it easily available. The second show was just sadly out of luck in terms of having its music and audio released, meaning not only is the show itself lost, but even its music as well. The best we have is that we at least know some lyrics of some of the songs in the second show. Feel free to pause to really read them through if you're so curious to. If I were to guess as to why the second show never got an audio release, I feel like Sega just might have been more worried about Sega World Sydney shutting down than having to release a CD audio for this show. You know, different priorities. Despite it all, I really hope the puppets somehow made it out. I don't know guys, they looked cool. Maybe they're locked in some vault under where Sega World Sydney stood. Or maybe Sega has them chilling in their office. The Archie Comics were an important part of Sonic's history. They are some of the longest running comics made for the Sonic series. Heck, for any video game series. But all of you guys know that they got cancelled in 2017 for a lot of reasons. Regardless of what those reasons may be, due to the comics being abruptly cancelled, you can imagine a lot of issues that were in development never got to see the light of day. Let's focus on the main series of issues for this section. Sonic the Hedgehog ended with issue 290, which simply put, was an adaptation of Sonic CD. It isn't anything too crazy for an issue, and especially for something as the last issue of Archie Sonic. But it was a nice little story meant to show the events of Sonic CD, but in comic form. The issue ends with Sonic going off to find the time stones. That said, there are at least 5 more issues planned before the comic was cancelled. Issues 291 all the way to issue 295. Issue 291 would have had a comic adaptation of another classic game, this time being Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The story putting a focus on Sonic and Tails who landed on Angel Island, but Knuckles thinks the two are enemies coming for the Master Emerald, which results in Sonic and Tails going up against Eggman and Knuckles. Now, while the comic was cancelled, meaning we never got the full release, there's still a couple of things related to this issue we can find. The cover was fully done. It's fully drawn and fully painted. Along with that, we also have access to all 20 pages of the issue thanks to Tracy Yardley, who drew the comic's art. But the pages were only ever penciled and inked, meaning they never got to be fully finished or colored in. And that's all we got of this comic. It's great we still have some parts of it, even if sadly we'll never get a fully finished issue 291. Issue 292 would have gone back to the modern cast of characters. The story would have had Sonic and friends going on to their next adventures after the previous Shattered World Crisis arc, which was an Unleashed adaptation of sorts. It just seems like it would have been a calm issue showing what everyone was up to and what storylines would be in store for them next. That said, the comic didn't get too far, as we have the cover which was fully finished and 12 pages that were sketched and inked. Like the previous issue, we don't have access to a fully finished comic, and chances are a fully finished comic may not even exist. Issue 293, like the others, has a fully finished cover. The story would have taken place in Studiopolis Zone and features Sonic and Honey on the set of a TV show called Sonic Man Heroes, in which it's a show about Sonic Man and other human people dressed as Sonic's friends. The story would have had Eggman crash onto the set and talk about his problems with the show. Kinda feels like that one episode of Sonic Boom where Eggman was making a movie. We don't have any art of the pages inside, but what we do have is concept art showing all of Sonic Man's friends inside and outside the costumes. Here is Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Cream, and even Eggman. Issue 294 would have had two stories. The first story would have been an adaptation of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. The cover shows a focus on Sonic, Mighty, and Ray. The second would have been called Baking Bad. Yes, it's a reference. It would have featured a story about Bunny and Antoine doing competitive cooking. And that's it. All we have is this completed cover for the Sega Sonic story and the variant cover for the Baking Bad story. No more art exists for this issue. Issue 295 doesn't even have a plot description, so we don't know what the story would have been about at all. What we do know is thanks to Tracy Ardley, we have this unfinished cover for the story. The cover shows the ghost from Sonic Unleashed, hinting at a story possibly involving these three. Other than that, we don't know much about this issue, and that would be the last issue to discuss for the main run too. There's nothing more to discuss in terms of an issue 196 and beyond because they were never planned out. Sad to see that these issues never got a fully finished treatment, and probably never will. IDW is thriving and it doesn't seem like Sega wants to go back to Archie. Sonic the Hedgehog is a gaming franchise, so I think it's fitting that the last topic of lost media I discuss is related to a lost video game. There's so many of these, but the one I really want to discuss is Sonic Extreme.
But actually, Bucket Rings, I thought you said you didn't want to talk about Sonic Extreme in this video.
Yes, I know, my dear and beloved viewer, I did say that, but this Sonic Extreme is different. The one I'm talking about isn't the same Sonic Extreme that was made and cancelled for the Sega Saturn. This Sonic Extreme was a skateboarding game. Back in 2003, Visionscape Interactive made a little prototype game meant to be a skating game for the Sonic series. Now in this game, at least in this very early build, you could only play as Sonic and Shadow. You'd be skateboarding around skate parks based on Sonic levels, collecting rings, power-ups, and keys to then collect the Chaos Emeralds. There was different modes to this game. The mission mode of the game is where you'd collect the Chaos Emeralds. There was also a combat mode and even a racing mode. Now then, how do we know about this game? It's not like it was ever officially released, so how is it that we as Sonic fans even know about this? Well, you see, an early build of the game was found in 2011 on an Xbox developer kit, having a build date of May 27, 2003. This game was technically found, so yay, it's not lost media. Now as to why it was never made, well, if you think about it, kinda was. Kinda. Listen, Sega was not interested in this idea. But they kinda were. Just think about it this way. Look at Sonic Riders. It's a game featuring the Sonic cast on these, well, not skateboards, but close enough to skateboards, extreme gear. It was made just a couple years after 2003, which if you ask me, while this isn't officially confirmed, I believe Sega, after seeing this game, definitely took ideas from this game and transformed it into Sonic Riders. It definitely feels that way. I mean, the extreme gear are pretty much like skateboards except they hover off the ground. And obviously we got Sonic and Shadow in the game and even all these original characters as well, the Babylon Rogues. You could definitely make a case that after seeing this game, Sega just kind of took these ideas and turned it into Sonic Riders. And we got that whole sub-series. So technically, in some twisted way, we got Sonic Extreme. Just probably not how we all imagined it. Woo, I think that's it. I think that's all the lost media I'm going to talk about in this video. Let me know in the comments any lost media you guys know about, because I definitely would want to make a part 2 in the future if this video does well. There's so much in terms of lost media related to Sonic the Hedgehog. Thank you for watching, everyone. Link in the description if you guys want to look further into this lost media I talked about in this video. Subscribe!